What do you think contemporary society can learn from the Catholic understanding or the Christian understanding between of the relationship between men and women?
Yeah, I mean, I think an awful lot, because I think the kind of Catholic anthropology and the Christian anthropology is fundamentally true. Because I think it's also been worked out over sort of, hundreds and thousands of years. And I think, yeah, fundamental to at least my understanding of Christianity is also the recognition of the inevitability of social harm and social awkwardness, which we all commit and we all receive. And I think that kind of forgiveness actually is fundamental to me. And I don't see very much forgiveness in our contemporary world at all. We have a world that has, on the one hand, is very liberal and people can do what they like. But obviously, if people transgress, even unwittingly, they're then kind of punished forever. And there seems to be very little flexibility and forgiveness in that world. So yeah, sorry. So what can we learn from the kind of I think it's much more realistic. I think it's just much truer. I think Christianity is the only major religion, possibly the only religion, that takes women and children in their difference and values them in their difference. I think it without making it a question of hierarchy or dominance or ownership or possession. And I think Christianity absolutely loves and respects and understands women and children and men in their specificity. And it does so in all of these very beautiful and complicated ways, whether it's through the saints, whether it's through Mary, whether it's through the Trinity. The contemporary world has forgotten all of the most important lessons about sexual difference that Christianity has always understood. So it can learn everything from it.
So what do you think, though? What do you think those are? Those sort of most important lessons?
I think partly that women are also fundamental to Christianity. I mean, they see Christ's resurrection. They are there throughout. That they are equal and loving partners with Christ and in the religion from its very foundation. So that women have this, different but equal role, right?
So in a sense, that sort of discourse about women being placed to the margins or oppressed by religion, it has been a sort of work of kind of propaganda in a sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a narrow and mean understanding of the reality, and certainly when I look at my Christian friends, whether they're Anglo-Catholic or Catholic, their relationships, they often have larger families, they often are married, quite soon after they meet. These are very functioning and healthy and wonderful relationships. And clearly something is working here, right? I hate to use this mechanical language of work, but, they are clearly flourishing relationships where people are respected as individuals, but it's also part of a family who is faithful, who go to church together and so on. And so it just seems to be the best the best way of living and the best the best image of faith. I think liberalism does not have an image. It doesn't have a positive image of men or women. It has something else, which is the libidinal subject or the desirous subject or the individual who is not particularly male or female. And I think we are fundamentally male or female. So
when you say the libidinal subject, what do you mean by that?
The subject that desires, and that desire is fundamentally good, and that society should be there to give you what you want, and that
and it's kind of no desire is sort of off limits as long as it can be fulfilled, without harming them.
Right. So you have the harm principle, but basically, the idea would be that what makes you who you are is your desire, right? Which I think is fundamentally untrue. And I think a lot of desires are very bad for people and bad for the social whole. But
it tends to be very good for sort of an economy, basically,
Right. And I mean,
consumers.
Sure. And I think we've gone down this kind of quantitative world of measurement, and the idea that the economy is more important than people. I mean, markets should be subsumed to people's needs and wants, not the other way around.
So you've spoken about restoring a positive understanding of the patriarchy. I mean, I'd be interested to know if you think is it a word that we can rescue, and also what does a positive understanding of the patriarchy kind of look like?
Well, like I say, I think it goes back to this idea of responsibility, because I think one of the other problems with liberalism or modernity is the idea that the state gives you rights, and that's the mechanism of duty, whereas actually we have duty to each other all the time. And I think duty has become a sort of dirty word. It's like, well, I don't want to do something, therefore why should I, right? But actually, obviously, being a father involves all kinds of duty and care and protection and so on. So it's in that sense that I think patriarchy is like, needs to be protected or resurrected or, defended or enacted. And I suppose one of the points of the book is like to say, well, actually, enormous numbers of men are doing this all the time already. They might be being ignored and neglected and actually misrepresented. But this is the reality of men who love and take responsibility for their families, for example. So it is already happening. It happens all the time.
So just a sort of final question, what practical advice would you give to men seeking out to live a sort of traditional Christian vision of masculinity today?
I ignore 95% of the world. Well, if they are fortunate enough to be a member of a church and to have kind of friends who are Christian and so on, I think it would be to I don't know, like practice a sort of religious life that might see you at odds with the world, that might see you at odds with the propaganda, and to develop kind of character and interests. I mean, this was something that was still important in the 90s. It was like, how do you become a person? Well, you have interests and character. You weren't an identity. Like, what even is that? So I think this kind of development of one's religious and I don't know, curious life, the fact that we have certain aptitudes and interests and so on, and just keep doing that, like against the world.